I'm Steph from the BMW DIY Guy, and I'm back here at BMW Seattle because I want to show you the brand new X3M Competition. One of the most important places to start, let's start with this incredible motor. Now, this is the first instance where you can get the brand new M motor, or the S58, in a production line vehicle. Now, a lot of folks are really looking forward to the upcoming G80 and the G82, or the new M3 and the M4 with the S58 motor, and maybe don't realize that you can already get it in the X3M Competition. This motor puts out either 506 or 510 horsepower, depending on what you read, but a lot, plus 442 foot-pounds of torque. This is on a forged crankshaft with 3D printed cylinder head, which is really pretty amazing. And BMW continues to push the edge of technology to make their cars lighter, to make them more powerful, handle better, and 3D printing is kind of one of the next big steps. Now, we'll get a bit of a zoom in on the motor here in a second, and I really wish I could take the engine cover off to show you a little bit deeper into this incredible power plant. But this is the heart, the beating heart of this amazing new car. So let's take a closer look at the motor. Let's do a walk around, look at all of this, the suspension exhaust components, and show you what it's like to actually drive this car. If the engine strut brace wasn't bolted in place, I'd actually take it off so I could actually pull this cover and show you more of this motor. But this really is that next generation motor, and it's so cool. You can get this in the first X3M, and this being the X3M Competition. While we're talking about that engine strut bar, you can also upgrade that to carbon fiber as well, depending on what you'd like to do coming from the factory. So all in all, what an amazing motor. 506 horsepower, 442 foot-pounds of torque. And when you deal with an M car and you have your ability to switch through your different performance modes for performance, steering, and suspension, you're going to be able to tune that power to exactly to the conditions that you're going to want and how you're going to want to drive. But all in all, I already love this motor and is a great hint for the coming G80s and G82s as well. With this model of X3, there are going to be some features that are going to be similar throughout, like the adaptive LED headlights, which are really good. But with the X3M Competition, you're also going to see more aggressive styling that leads into larger venting that has improved oil and engine cooling radiators throughout. As you can see, a much more aggressive front look. Now, just like we can see the engine strut across the top, the Competition has a much larger sway bar, which is basically directly under the motor here. So there's really no effective way to be able to show you, but your sway bar helps cut down on body roll. And this is a substantially larger sway bar. So as you actually drive this a little more enthusiastically, you could actually take this car to the track. You're going to be able to do that. Helping keep you on the road. As you can see, you've got large 21-inch wheels that come with the Competition standard, and also 4-piston front calipers along with rear floating calipers to help improve your braking. When I talk about track results, I'm not kidding. Recently at the Sachsenring, an X3M set unbelievable performance records, only 0.04 behind the M4 Competition. Also faster than the GLC 63 AMG, the Lamborghini Urus, and the Cayenne Turbo S. So this is a car that you could pull up to a light. Now, I'm not advocating dragging at stoplights, but you could pull up to a light and actually beat a Lamborghini off the light. It's probably something you wouldn't think about if you're actually looking at this car. So when you look at the exhaust, this is the M Performance Quad exhaust with the black tips. Looks really good and really aggressive, kind of that signature mark of a BMW M car. As you look all the way around this Donington Gray X3, really a pretty car and great from all angles. With these custom wheels that you're going to see are these specific wheels for the X3M Competition. So all in all, really pretty car inside and out, great performance all the way around. So let's go ahead and take a look at the inside and take a look at the seats. So being a brand new model, of course, there's going to be the delivery plastic all over, so just feel free to overlook that. This has that carbon fiber interior accents, and I'll tell you, it's a small thing, but I really do love the new seat badging. And the seat badging will light up, which I think is really, really cool. I love that. I love also the M Sport seats that you can get, and this particular model has it, being the Competition. With the amount of performance, it's good to have seats that are going to hang on to you throughout. So as you can see, the extended leather black interior, and all of the options. So let's go ahead and take a look at the center console, look through that in the iDrive.
All right, so let's take a look at your center console here. You've got your parking brake, of course, with your controls and this 8-speed Steptronic transmission. So you also have your ability to manually shift through the gears here, along with the paddles on your steering wheel, which I'll show in just a moment. So you've got your hill controls, your backup camera and the like, and your parking controls, as well as manual control of your exhaust flap. So maybe if you want to change that manually and maybe be a little bit quieter or not wake up your neighbors in the morning. What's also nice about the M cars is that you have your setup here for all of your performance controls. You have performance, suspension, and steering, so you can manually change all of these through the modes, as well as through the iDrive, and also with set association to your M1 and M2 buttons on your steering wheel, which I'll show in just a second. The familiar iDrive controller here with the wheel and your media, your home, your maps, and all the rest of your buttons that are familiar up here on the main screen, which I'll show in just a moment. And I know it's not new technology, but I really do love the wireless charging pad here. It's a great place to keep your phone, and one of the reasons why I retrofitted one of these into my F32 435. So standard AC controls familiar all the way across with, and of course a car like this, you have all of your different options, including heated seats and all the rest, which is really nice, especially on a little bit colder day today. This particular car has the carbon fiber accents, which I really like, along with the iDrive 7 full controls here, including gesture controls as well, which you can see. And I'm going to keep the volume down because I don't want a YouTube takedown for some song that might be playing, but I really do love the gesture control. So I'll show that in greater detail in just a moment, kind of in a separate breakout, and highlight a feature or two. So moving across, you have your steering wheel, of course, with all of your controls on the steering wheel, including your M1 and M2, your heated steering wheel, which is really nice on a cold day like today, and the full digital dash. Now, currently sitting in neutral, so you don't see a lot of information on there, but you can also configure this dash through different options on what you would like it to display, including as you go through your M modes as well. You'll see very specific different changes, which I like, and gives you a good indication of exactly what's going on with your drive, car performance, what options you have configured, and the like. So all in all, a ton of different options on this particular car, and everything very close at hand. And it's one of the things I really love about BMW, that all of the controls are slightly turned towards the driver, because that's where they should be. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at the iDrive 7, and there are so many options here that I literally could spend an hour just on this functionality alone. And the nice thing is when you pick up one of these cars, your BMW Genius is going to walk you through all of this configuration and setup to get you really familiar with all of this as well. So I really just want to highlight a few functions. So of course, as I'm using the iDrive controller, off screen, that's going to work as you go through all of your different options. I showed gesture control a moment ago, which is a really nice way of not having to touch the screen. But in addition, this is a touch screen as well. So through all of your different options, you can be touching the screen depending on what you want to do. Whether you want to use the iDrive controller or touchscreen directly. So as you can see, there really are quite a few options to go through, and one of the ones I wanted to highlight that I really like the most, especially in the X3M Competition and the modern M cars, is your ability to configure your M buttons on the steering wheel. And this really gives you the ability to just very quickly have a couple of ideal setups. So you can see in this case, the M1 is set to efficient, comfort and DSC on. And that's really nice. Maybe the conditions get really bad, or road conditions and weather changes. You can very quickly switch to a more gentle, more forgiving configuration. Then, for example, if you want to drive a little bit more enthusiastically, and you can see with the M2 configuration here, it's Sport Plus all the way down, including still DSC on, but you can even go and start selecting some of the options that are going to start backing off on your traction control and so there are some of the other options depending on how enthusiastically you would like to drive. So I really love that function. With that ability to really kind of customize the car to your behavior, push button quickness on what you would like to do. So There are so many options here, even including your ability to install different applications directly onto your device. And of course, the BMW Connected integration as well, which is a really cool app you can have on your phone. You can, depending on your car and your model, it's going to give you different options to start venting. For example, if you know that your car is going to be out in the sun and it's going to be really hot, you can tell it to start venting before you get there. You can locate it and other services. So all in all, really great technology throughout. And the iDrive 7 is really a great iteration as this kind of operating system inside the car. That user experience continues to mature and get better with every single release. All right, so let's go ahead and go for a drive. And as always, I'm gonna drive really respectfully since BMW Seattle is nice enough to loan me the car. But I wanna give you a little bit of a sense of how this car drives, and especially with this new S58 motor. That's really the amazing heart of this car and what gives it such amazing performance. So let's go ahead and take it out for a little bit, take it out for what would be an example test drive if you were gonna do it as well. Quick, straight out of the lot. Really impressive. Hopefully we'll get a chance to hold through this light. So one of the things that's impressive about this is this S58 motor. And the weather today isn't great and traffic is never going to be awesome, but the performance to be able to push this car so quickly in high performance is really amazing. Really quick. So I'm currently in M2, of course, if you couldn't tell, which is Sport Plus just about everything. And this is the kind of handling that you can expect out of an M4 competition. Like I mentioned earlier, this is ever so slightly 0.04 slower on the track than an M4 competition. With the additional weight and size, it's really impressive. Kind of a pretty day, even though it's gray and cloudy. Rough, choppy waters here on the Lake Washington. But all in all, this is really impressive. So currently in sport mode, and this really has a tremendous amount of power. The handling is very crisp. And even though the suspension is going to be as tight as it's going to be, because the roads around here aren't exactly perfect. There's lots of expansion joints and the roads are a little bit rough. But the ride itself is not harsh. Now, these really great seats help, the great suspension helps, but this is really impressive. And I feel like the X3M is kind of the overlooked little brother when it has better performance than its big brother, the X5M, and has almost identical performance to what one would look at as actually, you know, a coupe sports car like the M4. So really impressive handling, very crisp, very precise. What a great car to drive. Super comfortable. All right, so let's go ahead and take my favorite on-ramp here. We'll drift back a little bit. let this SUV in front of us get out ahead a little bit as there's nobody behind us. But let's hear how this sounds. Yeah, that sounds really good and was very, very quick. And to be clear, that was not, you know, full throttle. That was really what I would consider kind of moderate acceleration, and came down the ramps very, very quickly, as you can see, had no problem merging into traffic. And, you know, I'm kind of a big believer in horsepower, that regardless of what car you have, that its horsepower to body weight should be pretty reasonable, because you need to have the ability to merge into traffic. You need to be able to do it at a good pace. There are times you need to accelerate, and it's nice to have a car that would be able to do that. Now, of course, an X3M Competition has a fantastic horsepower to body weight ratio with this new absolutely unbelievable S58 motor, which really is a telltale sign of the M's to come. The new M2, when it comes out probably in 2022, the coming G80 and G82 M3 and M4 with this power plant is just going to be amazing. When you look at this SUV that has, you know, 500 to 506 or maybe even 510, depending on what you read, horsepower in an SUV frame, really gets up and goes, really impressive. Really an enjoyable car, and I think does not get nearly enough credit for what it is, and is overshadowed sometimes by the X5M Competition and some of the others, when it definitely deserves to stand on the podium all by itself. Sadly having to come back to the dealership. Let's give it one more little taste here. Yeah, really impressive, really quick. I love driving an SUV that actually has burbles, you know, the pops and crackles out of the exhaust. I'm really impressed by this car. As always, reluctantly, I'm gonna have to give the keys back. Another car that I'm really impressed by. And, you know, if there's anything from this walk around and test drive that I can pass on, is this is not the little brother to anything. I mean, I think more often than not, it's overshadowed by, you know, if an M car is like an M3 or an M4, or if you want the SUV, it's the bigger X5, especially the X5M Competition, right? But this car is truly impressive. It has those M3, M4 performance. It has all of that handling. It has the greater capacity and capability. It has this fantastic panorama sunroof, which I just adore in my E83 X3 as well. So this is a car that deserves to stand up on the podium by itself and be appreciated for what it is. I definitely recommend you come and check it out. And the handling and performance is really amazing, and this is where I think the M1 and M2 buttons are really going to be your friend, especially having a little bit more daily driver set to your M1 button, driving around town, stoplights, that sort of thing, because this is so quick and the handling is so tight that in M2 I could see you getting yourself into trouble, because every light, every turn, you're coming out hot, you're coming out really quick, and the last thing you want to do is get in trouble in your new car, right? So I really recommend you come and check it out. Come drive one yourself. Come get a sense of what it's like. Get an idea of this new motor and the handling and the incredible technology in this car. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much to BMW Seattle for giving me an opportunity to drive this car. And I'll see you on my next project.